the $1 billion Coca-Cola Machine.
You're in the cinema, about to
I appreciate this. Our animations are made by humans. Thank you, Fern.
watch yet another sequel to a forgotten franchise nobody asked for. You're getting popcorn and a drink to drown out your Jared Leto-induced sorrow with a sugar rush. You pay and they hand you a cup to drown out
That popcorn looks terrible. They overcooked that for sure. Where's all the white fluffiness?
your Jared Leto-induced sorrow with a sugar rush. You pay and they hand you a cup. Then you see it, glowing red and chrome, the Coca-Cola Freestyle Fountain. Here, you can choose between over 100 different flavors. Cherry Vanilla Coke, Peach Sprite, maybe you'll go crazy and mix Fanta with Powerade, or maybe you just pick a classic. But this machine is way more than just a soda fountain. It's not just serving you a drink, it tracks everything you do. And while you're picking your favorite flavor,
Of course it tracks everything we can do. We can't just have interesting technology for the sake of having interesting technology. Every new thing we build has to be something that nobody asked for that also tracks every aspect of you so that data can be farmed and sold off to big tech companies and tracked across the internet for remarketing and advertising purposes. Is this not dystopian that the machine that dispenses soft drinks to you tracks your movement and facial expressions and your decision making in order to build large language models to try and sell more product? Is that not crazy to anyone else?
it's quietly collecting data. Data that turns customers into test subjects. Data that Coke will profit from tremendously. The Coca-Cola Company is said to have invested more than $1 billion in this machine, but they're very likely turning its capabilities into much.
You know, I was going to start off this video by saying, I don't know why they built this machine. The other Coca-Cola fountains work just fine. If you want more flavors, just add more fountains. It's a movie theater. There's lots of options. But I guess if they stand to profit billions of dollars off of data that you didn't consent to giving, that makes sense. Also, is this legal in the EU? Because this is not like you don't sign anything every time you pour Coke into your cup. So are they allowed to track in the EU? Does anyone know?
Much bigger savings and profits. Today, we're diving into how a drink dispenser became a global lab and what role you play in all of this.
I want to look up a Coca-Cola machine. Oh my gosh, look. Yeah, there's a camera right there. I just never noticed it. I didn't think anything of it.
The Coca-Cola Company is one of the biggest beverage producers on the planet. The conglomerate controls almost half of the global soda market, making billions in revenue every year. And one important way they sold their many drinks has long been soda fountains. In the olden days, ordering a soft drink would work like this. You'd walk up to the counter, place your order, and someone would pour your drink into a cup. Then self-service fountains arrived. Now you could fill your own cup at your own discretion. When you were a kid, this fountain was everything. You could mix yourself.
Do you remember, did anyone else do this where you walk up to one of those, you called it a suicide and you just spritzed a little bit of everything in it and you drank it? I swear those were so good. It's like a core childhood memory, just and then you told your friends how cool you were and how you had created your own soft drink.
Of something truly undrinkable.
The suicide, there it is.
You.
However, in 2006, Coca-Cola and other beverage makers noticed something worrying. For the first time since 1985, the sales volume of carbonated beverages had declined. People started to focus more on their health and well-being. They were
That was around the time studies came out talking about how bad for you sugar was, and they started to realize that sugar was linked to obesity, and it wasn't just fats and trans fats and saturated fats. So that makes sense that people started to freak out as they grew wise to how bad for you this is, and they started to switch over to sugar-free stuff. And also just water, man. Just drink water.
increasingly looking for sugar-free drinks and low-calorie options. But Coke's fountains just weren't ready for that. At that time, only about 1% of all Coke fountains in the US even offered Diet Coke. Meanwhile, the choice of sodas...
That is a benefit that I hadn't thought of, is if you sell a Coke fountain with certain things, you can't really swap... No, you can swap them out because you can just swap out the tag that's on them. Like, you can remove this and slide a little plate over it that says, like, I don't know, Sprite Zero or something else. All right, I take it back.
percent of all Coke fountains in the US even offered Diet Coke. Meanwhile, the choice of sodas at convenience stores had increased dramatically. Rows and rows packed with hundreds of bottles and cans. But Coke fountains were stuck with the same limited run-up of kind of boring standard flavors. So they had to come up with an idea that would change everything. The Freestyle fountain's design is interesting. The red, the chrome, the sculpted lines. It kind of looks like it wants to become a Ferrari when it grows up. And that's not a coincidence. It was developed with Pininfarina, the legendary Italian design house that shaped the curves of Ferrari itself. You slide your cup.
I think it looks kind of cool and good. I have nothing against that. But to say, oh, we collabed with the guy that created the legendary curves on a Ferrari, like, brother, it is not that serious. It squirts out sugar water with a little coloring in it. We do not need to be comparing this to Ferrari.
Under the dispenser. Now comes the fun part. You see dozens of bubbles on the screen in front of you. Each bubble is labeled with a different drink. Mezzomix, Coca-Cola, Powerade, Lift, Fuse Tea, and Kinley. In total, you could choose over 100 drinks. Back when you were a kid, this would have been impossible. Restaurants used massive 19-liter syrup canisters for every single...
I remember working... To swap these out is such a pain. When I worked at Chick-fil-A, as soon as it runs out of the syrup, it goes... Then you have to unscrew it, swap the other one out. It weighs like 50 pounds. It's super heavy. Screw it back on, put it back, and it goes... as it gets sucked into the machine on the other
drink
side.
Option. Nowadays, all these flavors fit into just about 30 tiny cartridges. The cartridge design is inspired by medical tech, where precise dosing is critical. Just as insulin...
That's kind of crazy. I thought it was hooked up to something in the back, but it's like a freestanding machine that can make all those flavors. You have to replace these like every day then, because there's no way that this right here takes up more than a day's worth of like supply, right?
Pumps deliver exact amounts of medication almost drop by drop. The Freestyle system carefully meters syrup and carbonated water for each pour. In theory, every pour is perfectly measured.
Oh, okay, so it is hooked up. I guess this is water, and then the rest of it is just the flavoring.
Drop by drop, turning your drink into a precise masterpiece. But Coke from a Freestyle fountain actually tends to taste a little different from the one you buy in the supermarket. In contrast to the old canister systems that pre-mix syrup and sweetener, Freestyle keeps flavors, sweeteners, and carbonated water separate. Now, when you press the button, the flavor, sugar, and carbonated water are combined on demand. This can make your Coke taste slightly different from other preparations. Staring at the bubbly screen, curiosity kicks in. You came in for your usual, but you gotta admit, some options here are tempting. You tap the Powerade bubble, and suddenly a whole lineup appears. Powerade Raspberry, Powerade Lemon, Powerade Strawberry. So many choices. Which one to pick? You even mix a drink that doesn't exist before. You could create your own secret flavor. And won't that make you special?
The sound of a soft drink cup getting filled up at a soda fountain is like one of the only ASMR sounds that I really enjoy. AMC did their commercial where it shows the like filling it up and the popcorn popping, and it's like that's just a satisfying sound. It's like shh, and someone takes a sip. It's good stuff.
The fountain is fun. It lets you explore. It bewilders. It sparks curiosity. It might even provoke play. And that's exactly the point.
Did you say provoke play? What kind of a fountain do you think this is, brother?
Coca-Cola doesn't just want to sell you a beverage. It wants you to feel something. This technique is called experience marketing. Right here in front of this machine,
I'll be honest, the first time I saw one of these machines, I actually didn't like it that much because I just wanted to be able to walk over and stick it against the little lever and have it dispense immediately. For this, I had to like start selecting things and going through stuff and then touch to pour. I found it less convenient, but also if this little doodad right here is tracking you for billions of dollars, I guess it makes sense.
You're not just choosing a flavor. You're interacting with the brand. You are literally experiencing it. Every tap, every bubble, every choice pulls you deeper into the Coca-Cola universe. And that matters, because moments like this make you remember Coke, not just as a drink, but as a feeling. And ideally, it wants you to go home and tell your friends about that insane machine that lets you mix your own Coke and offers that amazing weird new flavor they so gotta try. And Freestyle isn't the only example for Coke's experience marketing.
So it's kind of like how sports betting apps do it, where they give people wins, and then when they do, they market it heavily so that you tell other people about the experience you had with the win. I mean, that's one of the huge draws of sports betting, is hearing about other people that won on their 7-game parlay and made $100,000 off of it, even though that's such a small percentage.
Think about Share a Coke. Different campaign, same idea. And it's all part of Coca-Cola.
I will say Coke's marketing goes hard. They come up with something interesting so often. This Share Coke was crazy popular. It's kind of depressing that they've tarnished their brand so much with their stupid AI commercials. The slop they keep vomiting out on like the Super Bowl and stuff is just atrocious.
Coca-Cola's bigger play, shifting from being just a product brand to an experience brand. Anyways, you ultimately go for a Sprite. You didn't even know Sprite Cherry existed. Time to give it a shot. You press the pour button, then you take a sip. Not half bad. You're not the only one who was curious about Sprite Cherry. All over the world, people have made the exact same choice. Obviously, Coca-Cola didn't offer you this new flavor just for fun.
Oh, it's also a good way to like experiment. If they don't know if Sprite Cherry is going to be popular, then this is a really cheap way to try it out and get a little bit of market experience. And if they, track the data and like, wow, lots of people order Sprite Cherry over and over, well, then it makes sense. Then without having to create a bunch of Sprite Cherry that it's a flavor that maybe you should put on the shelves. So that's actually pretty smart.
The Freestyle ecosystem is basically a giant testing lab. Every pour, every mix, every flavor you try feeds into a massive experiment, a sampling program on a global scale. And with this particular new flavor, the experiment actually worked. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. When Coca-Cola launched the Freestyle in 2009, they packed it with cutting-edge technology.
2009? This has been around for like 16 or 17 years? I feel like I've only seen it in like the Fast 5. Was it only in large cities like LA and stuff?
Wireless networks like the ones we have today weren't exactly standard, so Coca-Cola built their own. The network they created links every Freestyle machine directly to Coca-Cola's back-end systems, which are managed through SAP software. Think of it as the company's brain. It keeps track of everything happening across all departments in real time. Every single day, over 50,000 Freestyle machines send data back to this brain. They report everything that's going on inside them, which flavors are being poured, what time of day they are consumed, or how much syrup is left. You might not experiment with your drink choices, but many other people do. That is how Coca-Cola discovered that people really like Coke Orange Vanilla, Sprite Cherry, Sprite Strawberry, and Coke Cherry Vanilla. Some of these flavors started as user creations, combinations people kept mixing again and again at the Freestyle machine. Others, like Coke Orange Vanilla, were developed by Coca-Cola. The more people got these, the stronger the signal became, and what started as a tiny bubble on screen ultimately moved into full production. Sure, you could argue the company might have released these flavors eventually either way, but with Freestyle, those decisions happen faster than before.
It's also such a low-cost way to experiment. Like, it costs you almost nothing to stick a cartridge in there with a bunch of vanilla orange flavoring that you've made at a factory somewhere for a few cents. When I worked at Chick-fil-A, we sold sweet iced tea, and we sold it, I don't know, for like a large cup, it was like $3.50 or something like that. But to make it, it costs 12 cents a gallon. 12 cents a gallon to make it. And then we sold it for $3.50 per large cup of it. The profit margin on that is astronomical. It's like hundreds upon hundreds of percent markup because it's literally just water, a little bit of a tea flavoring, and then sugar. And those are all super cheap ingredients.
And might be grounded in better data. But there's more. Before Freestyle, staff had to manually check those giant syrup canisters. They probably used inventory sheets, maybe did a bit of guesswork, and called or emailed Coca-Cola to reorder. Freestyle completely transformed fountain logistics. Every night, the system collects data from this exact machine and figures out how many units of each
Is this a real dashboard? How much more is left? Interesting.
cartridge needs to be delivered to the cinema.
Oh yeah, no, Coca-Cola Freestyle dispenser. Oh, so this is a real screenshot. That's pretty cool. Even though I'm not really on board with all of the tracking, as long as it doesn't do like tracking of facial stuff, which I suspect we'll get to in a bit. If it's just tracking the drinks, what people ordered, how much they ordered, and how often they came back to reorder it, I'm actually okay with that. That seems fine to me. You can track that. As long as it's not like filming me and tracking my facial expressions to see how much I like it and then using AI to match me to other Coca-Cola machines and then selling that data to other companies so that they can market like Powerade and stuff to me.
And it's not just based on what you and your friends poured yesterday. Algorithms predict demand and even factor in planned promotions for specific beverages. The system calculates which cartridges need refilling and automatically creates the restocking orders. Those orders are sent straight to the distribution center, and from there, the cartridges are shipped directly to the fountain locations. Every Freestyle machine on the planet is quietly syncing. Think about how smart this is. With Freestyle, Coca-Cola can optimize their entire fountain supply chain, streamline inventory management, make restocks more efficient, and even improve their production schedule. It's probably safe to assume that this alone saves the company millions and millions of dollars along the way. The data streams don't only report back. Marketers at HQ can push new campaigns straight to the Freestyle. It took a while to get to this level. Whenever Coke wanted to push a new campaign or change content, it required a full software update, during which the machine couldn't pour a single drink. Not exactly ideal considering many fountains are located in high-traffic fast food chains. So in the mid-2010s, Coca-Cola integrated AirWatch, a modern device management platform. Now, instead of sending out a massive software update, whenever
Coke, I always thought of as a beverage and snack and, sometimes a food company, which they still absolutely are. but it's kind of impressive the amount of intelligent people that they have hired that have managed to put this machine together and this whole network together, specifically in the year 2009. This is something that I see and am impressed by now, but the fact that they built the technology going on 20 years ago is absolutely insane. The internet at this point had only been mainstream for about 8 years, and they built this technology out for it. Yeah, widespread adoption of the internet was 95 to 2000. So at this point, maybe 10 years of widespread adoption of the internet, and they still managed to build this out.
Marketers want to roll out a campaign. They could push tiny data packages. While receiving the configurations, the machines most likely stay fully operational. They simply download and display the new content, like this Halloween special. What happens next is called nudging. A new flavor might be the first bubble you see, or a short teaser video might just catch your eye. You're still free to pick whatever you want, but those gentle nudges make you more likely to experiment. Thousands of individual recorded choices to try some bizarre Halloween flavor, all feeding directly into Coca-Cola's product development. But wait a minute, this little black dot up there, is that a camera?
This is everything up to this point I'm actually on board with. It's a really interesting technology. The distribution system just to make everything more efficient. The whole supply chain is more efficient. That's awesome. The tracking it to create new flavors and everything. That's pretty cool. The filming you without your consent for the data collection. This is where you lose me.
Is this thing recording you? Well, Coca-Cola did plan to install a camera in one of their freestyle models. They even included it in their spec sheet and described it with the words, future capability for motion sensing and facial recognition. This way, the company could have tracked every smile when you mix flavors, every frown when it doesn't taste right after a little test sip, literally observing which combos make you happy or annoyed.
Every modern car has this too, by the way. The inside the car dash cam films you, and all that data is tracked and sent back to the companies who then sell it to the insurance companies. And if the insurance companies buy your data and then decide that you are a bad driver because maybe you're texting while you're driving distracted, they will increase your insurance rates despite the fact that you haven't had any kind of an accident. Crazy, crazy thing that they do.
Every reaction is data. But could they really pull this off? At least in theory. In Europe, for example, strict data protection laws such as...
There it is, yes, the GDPR, which basically stops you from being tracked without explicit opt-in consent. It's not opt-out consent like it is in the United States, or just no consent at all because nobody in the United States cares. This is where I'm like, there's no way this is illegal, right?
General data protection regulations would likely not allow this to happen. In the US, however, businesses and event venues are increasingly experimenting with facial analysis and recognition technology in public spaces. So hypothetically, it might be feasible there. According to Fortune, in early 2024, AI company Quantify referenced a facial recognition project tied to Freestyle. In a now-removed entry on their website, it reportedly said, each vending machine comes with a camera installed, in which an image is captured for every customer interacting with the machine. Coca-Cola's marketing team aspired to use these images to generate insights on consumer preferences and usage patterns. Reportedly, Quantify built a machine learning model to detect customer demographics. Basically, the Coca-Cola company could know you're a guy in your 20s, standing here grabbing that Sprite cherry. After Fortune asked questions, the post seemingly vanished. A spokesperson for Coca-Cola said cameras in Freestyle fountains were just tested in a laboratory setting from 2018 to 2019. When we asked Coca-Cola about this, they did not respond. The creepy camera hole aside, the technology is pretty impressive.
I bet you that the modern ones don't have cameras, but they actually do. It's like a lot of phones have underscreen cameras now where you can't actually see the camera, but it can still do selfies. I would bet anything they're trying to develop that so that people don't see it and don't think that they're being tracked, even though they actually are.
A single globally deployed machine expanding flavor variety, strategically pushing experience marketing, enabling hyper-detailed flavor testing, micro-campaigning, and optimization of the supply chain. You probably stood in front of one of those before and never even had a clue. But there is this one central question we just couldn't shake. Just how much are they saving and making with this? In order to find out, we went down a rabbit hole, annual reports, analytics, figures, and company filings, only to realize there is no concrete data. Sure, we found...
If they put too much data about it, one, people might get freaked out that they're being tracked so much, and two, Pepsi and every competitor is going to start coming out with these kind of things as well. Oh, I would bet anything these are wildly successful, and they desperately don't want anyone to know how wildly successful they are so that nobody else tries to copy them and do the same thing. Because I've never seen like a Pepsi machine. I've only seen these Coke machines.
A few clues here and there, but we could barely make anything useful out of it, especially because gains from Freestyle are tangled up with other projects. When we reached out to Coca-Cola for comment, they didn't respond. So we had to call in backup. Enter Yannick, the team's spreadsheet wizard. He dove into everything we could find out about Freestyle and started making sense of it. His analysis is split into 3 parts. First, payback. Let's start with Coca-Cola's assumed revenue from Freestyle machines. To get a rough baseline, we looked at something similar, loyalty programs like Payback. Payback usually returns an estimated 0.5 to 3% of your spending. Sounds like a bad deal for them, but here's the thing, it works. Because when people get a little something in return, they tend to spend even more. And while they do, Payback collects tons of data, or what they...
It's also, this is almost exactly how credit card companies work, right? Because you're like, oh, I get 1% cash back. I'm making money. And then really when you put it out at an average, you actually spend more money than you would have in the first place. And then also it's being paid for by people that are behind on their payments and are stuck with interest payments and get caught in a debt cycle.
Buy, when they buy, and where they buy. You can't fully compare.
Remember when Target predicted that that girl was pregnant and her dad got mad at them and was like, stop sending us pregnancy coupons? And she actually was pregnant just because their payback system was so good. Yeah, how Target figured out a teen girl was pregnant before her father did just by tracking all of her purchases. It knew she was pregnant. And so it sent her coupons for diapers and other stuff that she would need.
Payback to Coke Freestyle, but both follow the same idea. Encourage people to buy and learn as much as possible while they do. The data collected through loyalty programs like Payback enables targeted marketing and personalized offers, helping deliver messages that are relevant to individual consumers. Studies like this one show that loyalty programs can improve gross margins by 2 to 4%, not simply because people buy more, but because companies can make smarter, data-driven marketing and product decisions. Using that logic, we can conservatively assume a 2% margin on revenue for Freestyle. This is a very rough estimate, but enough to get a sense of scale. According to one source, Coke Freestyle machines dispense around 4 billion drinks per year, assuming an average of $2.
So every 2 years, they've dispensed enough drink for everyone in the world to have tried Coke. Doesn't Coke have like the largest market recognition of any brand? Something like 89% of the world recognizes the Coca-Cola brand. Yeah, with studies suggesting its iconic red and white logo is recognized by around 94% of the world's population, often cited as the most recognizable non-tech brand known for its consistent marketing, blah, blah, blah. 94% of the world knows about Coca-Cola. That's crazy. And that 6% is basically people with no technology living in jungles in the middle of nowhere.
Per drink and a 2% margin, that adds up to roughly $160 million in yearly gains, well over $1 billion since Freestyle's inception. Second, the value of data. Back in 2015, Coca-Cola teamed up with Hivery, a company focusing on AI-driven optimization. Their mission was to optimize vending machine sales. One of Hivery's clients was Reyes Coca-Cola Bottling Co., a U.S. bottler with roughly 19,000 vending machines in hospitals across California and Nevada. Hivery's software combines sales data with machine learning and some algorithms to predict demand for every beverage in every machine. Reportedly, Reyes saw a 6% sales increase and a 15% reduction in restocking trips. These numbers suggest that data-driven supply chain management can generate significant sales boosts and cost savings. It is reasonable to assume that Freestyle fountains could yield similar results. Third, new flavors. Some of the new...
I think this is where the real money is. If you can have 4 billion drinks a year of test data, you know what flavors are going to do well. It's so easy and relatively cheap just to push a small amount of flavoring to all of these machines, give it 6 months to a year, see what people like, and then manufacture that. Instead of having to pay expensive focus groups that may or may not actually be right, the whole world becomes your focus group immediately. That's where I think the data is here.
Flavors Coca-Cola launched based on their Freestyle testing turned out about as popular as the deeply disappointing and unwanted sequel you're going to endure in a few minutes. Take Coke Cherry Vanilla, for example. Even though it was one of the most beloved Freestyle combos, Coca-Cola decided to not produce any more in 2024 due to declining demand. Freestyle may help spot promising new flavors, but it doesn't seem to be foolproof. Out of 4 flavors brought to the market, 2 did not survive. This doesn't necessarily mean they were bad investments, just that they weren't long-term hits. Coca-Cola may have overestimated how
Plus, lots of drinks are seasonal, so, that doesn't mean anything.
representative Freestyle users are for the broader market. Again, our request for comment went unanswered. While Coca-Cola rarely publishes concrete sales data for specific products, we found a number for one of their newer non-Freestyle Sprite products that shows the potential of this market. Sprite Chill generated $50 million in sales in its first 21 weeks in the North American market.
$50 million in 21 weeks as a flavor that only exists in these machines? Dang.
Again, it's hard to estimate the total profit the company may have made through new flavors that started on freestyle, and how important the found data was for their success. But looking at all three aspects of Yannick's analysis, one thing is relatively safe to assume. The $1 billion Coca-Cola reportedly invested into these machines has long been made back.
That was a good video. I love learning about things I knew nothing about. That was the $1 billion Coca-Cola Machine by Fern. Banger of a video, highly recommend. Link, as always, is in the description. Thanks for watching.